your dreams.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Genshin Impact video, and today I'm just going to be sharing my thoughts on the upcoming 3.8 banner. By the way, if you happen to like the content, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It'd be greatly appreciated. It'd help me out a lot. So the banners for 3.8 is basically all rerun banners with Scaramouche, Kokomi, Klee, and Eula herself. I already knew that at least Kokomi, Klee, and Eula were coming back because we did get leaks about Klee getting a skin, Eula and Kokomi making an appearance in the story of 3.8. 3.8 is going to be a filler patch for most people, and in my honest opinion, I would say that you should probably skip all of these characters. Fontaine is literally next, right after 3.8. We're moving right to 4.0 after 3.8, so I think skipping these characters for the Fontaine characters is probably going to be your best bet. I don't know how strong or weak the Fontaine characters are going to be, but with the Fontaine coming soon, we're most likely going to get the Hydro Archon, probably like in 4.2 or 4.1 or something. Also, we are going to be getting 4.0 leaks once 3.8 is almost here, so I would suggest that you at least wait for the leaks to come in order to make a decision. Either you want to skip these characters or pull for them. Even though I do think that you should skip the 3.8 banners, I am going to give my brief opinions about these characters since I do have all four of them. So first, I'm going to be starting off with Scaramouche because I do think he's probably the best DPS option in the 3.8 banners. Not only is he the best DPS option in this banner, he's also pretty good in the overworld since he can literally like levitate and float around. His main source of damage is going to be coming from his normal attacks. His E skill, Haniga, Song of the Wind, puts him in the wind favored state mode, which gives him the ability to levitate, and he basically has his own stamina bar, which is light blue. This state increases his normal and charge attack damage and gives him more AoE. The wind favored state will go away once the blue stamina bar gets depleted, and it gets depleted over time whenever you attack or whenever you dash. As I said earlier, this wind favored state is pretty handy in exploring the overworld, so not only is Scaramouche a good DPS, he can traverse through the overworld pretty quickly. His passive skill, the Jade Claimed Flower, is a pretty handy passive that makes him very flexible in a lot of different team compositions, unlike Zhao. Whenever Scaramouche swirls a different element, he'll get a different effect depending on what he swirled. Not only is it really good for putting him in diverse team comps, but it's also pretty good if you want to build him as well. For instance, if he swirls Cryo, his crit rate will be increased, so if you're lacking a little bit of crit rate on your Scaramouche, you can at least put him with a Cryo character to increase his crit rate. If you want your Scaramouche to deal more burst damage, then you can pair him up with an Electro character, since swirling Electro will build up his energy a lot more quickly. If he swirls Pyro, he will gain an attack boost, and if he swirls Hydro, he'll be able to stay in the wind favored state a little bit longer. So depending on how you want to play your Scaramouche, you basically have him swirl different elements. You can only use 2 of these different buffs simultaneously. If you are looking for a good DPS and someone that can traverse the overworld pretty quickly, then Scaramouche is a pretty good pickup if I do say so myself. I personally do plan to roll for his weapon since I do want him to have his own weapon. I'm tired of switching weapons around. Anyways, next we got the Sleeping Dragon Princess Kokomi. Now, when Kokomi first came out, people really trashed on her really badly to the point where they even bullied her voice actress. Anyways, Kokomi is actually pretty good. I was one of the few people that defended her when she first came out. I thought she was, pretty good. Kokomi is one of the best healers in the game, so if you do have her on your team, it's going to be pretty hard for you to die. The Ocean Hued Clam set really made a big clit difference for Kokomi. What the 4-piece set does is the more you heal, the more damage the enemy will take, and since Kokomi is the best healer, she's basically utilizing this set to its full potential. thus dealing big damage to the enemy since she fucking heals a lot. Her E skill, the Korage's Oath, basically summons a jellyfish that will attack enemies and will also heal your allies at a specific tick. This skill is pretty useful if you're trying to use Vaporize or Freeze. Kokomi's utilities have been increased with the introduction of Dendro, since she's pretty good in different variations of Bloom teams. Not only is she applying Hydro, but she's also healing you as well, and since Bloom damage can damage your team, she'll be healing you from the Bloom damage that you'll inevitably receive. So Dendro definitely helped her quite a bit. Kokomi's burst, which is called Nearer Dissension, which basically increases her normal attack and charge damage a little bit, and not only does it increases the damage, it'll also heal your allies as well. And due to her passive, which is called Tamakushi Casket, if she uses her burst while her jellyfish is already on the field, it basically refreshes the duration of the jellyfish. Most people tend to use her burst just to do that, so you don't necessarily have to stay on the field when you use her burst. Anyways, if you do need another healer because you're trying to tackle the Abyss, Kokomi will be a pretty good pickup. Although her signature weapon is pretty bad, since Kokomi is basically the only character that can really utilize it. It does look pretty though. Hopefully it will be paired with Scaramouche's weapon, but I don't know. I haven't really seen the news. I don't know who's first or who's second. So next we got Klee. Now Klee is, to be honest, Klee isn't really that good. I mean, she's a Pyro main DPS. She's a Catalyst user that's a lolly. Lolly characters tend to be pretty difficult to use because they're not as fast as like the taller characters. For a Catalyst user, Klee doesn't really have that much range. She does need to be somewhat close to the enemy. There are better Pyro main DPS options. Hell, I'd probably build Zhangling as a main DPS than Klee in my honest opinion. With Kazuha, Klee is definitely a lot better, although that's not really saying much. Anyone is better with Kazuha because he can specifically swirl the bombs from Klee's E skill, so he does work pretty well with Klee in that manner. Since her bombs will be like all over the field, with Kazuha, it's going to be a little bit more easier for you to control where the bombs will go. Anyways, I wouldn't really recommend Klee unless you just really like Klee. Klee would be so much better if her burst can stay on the field without Klee being on the field. But yeah, all I can really say is pick her up only if you really like her. Now last and maybe not certainly least is Eula. When Eula first came out, she was kind of really well received. She was in a lot of damage showcase videos, specifically for her burst damage. But nowadays, people kind of shit on her because she really isn't that good, and honestly, it's not really her fault. Okay, so maybe it's like a little bit of her fault, because for one, her burst damage is kind of awkward to land. Once you use Eula's burst, you get this light sword following you around, and after a certain time, this light sword will detonate and deal a shit ton of physical damage. However, if the enemy decides to, teleport or move out of the fucking way, then you basically just wasted the burst. So if you're playing in the Abyss and you miss Eula's burst, you basically gotta restart all over again and hope that the burst lands the hit. Or in the case of a tryhard, if you're trying to crit on her burst and her burst doesn't crit, then you basically gotta restart the Abyss again. Her burst having the tendency to miss is kind of what makes Eula a pain in the butt to use. Another reason why Eula isn't really so hot, especially in the Abyss, is because the Ruin Guard enemies tend to have high physical resistance, and we see a shit ton of them in the Abyss nowadays. Superconduct isn't really a great reaction. Basically, all it really does is it decreases the enemy's physical resistance. That's basically all it does. But if we compare it to other elemental reactions, they're just generally better. Superconduct is just there to lower the physical resistance. That's it. It doesn't really deal big dick damage. Superconduct is probably one of the worst reactions in the game, somewhere up there along with Crystallize. And Eula definitely needs Superconduct in order for her to deal more damage. With the introduction of Dendro and those reactions are even better than Superconduct, so people are more willing to use those reactions than Superconduct. I will give Eula credit that she's really pretty and elegant to look at, but I can't really recommend pulling for Eula unless you just really like looking at her nice thighs. Anyways, with this 3.8 patch basically being a filler for most people, I do think that you should probably skip these characters, and with Fontaine right around the corner, I do think you should probably save for some Fontaine characters. However, that's just my opinion. You should at least do like more research if you really are still uncertain to whether you want to pull for these characters or not. Anyways, these are just my final thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Agree, disagree? Anybody gonna pull for these characters? Anybody gonna be saving for Fontaine characters? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys later.
Bye bye now. Come again soon.